Polly Pop.
Dennis, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you, bud?
I'm good. I'm good. Hey, Ladwina. Hey, Cindy.
Hey,
Ladwina, you ready to make me look smarter than I am?
I am.
Good. I'm sitting on a phone pages, so I know I already look taller than I am.
I was going to say, what's going on? What are you eating?
Oh, man. Paul, how are you?
Good, man. Good.
Good.
Yeah.
I heard your voice this morning on the call, and I was like, I got to call Paul. Note for myself. So it's good to see your face.
Good, how are
Yeah,
you?
it's good to see you too, man.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
How's everything going? Your daughter celebrated birthday?
No, what did
Something happened on Facebook. Daughter's Day.
Oh, that was Daughter's Day. Yeah.
Daughter's
I dropped one real quick.
So one day
Yeah.
she had to stay in the same room as you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a
More than
feedback.
10 minutes.
That's a feedback from
I
everyone.
posted, somebody had an old picture of me and my wife.
Yeah, I mean, so it's good. We're starting to get more activity and more showings.
And I posted it. It was like, from whatever, 20 years ago or 25 years ago. And I don't know what I wrote on there, but I got like 55 like happy anniversaries. Like thinking it was, I don't know how I worded it, but I'm like, well, it's not my anniversary, but I don't want to let all these people. So I just
Just went with it.
like too long of a story. So
And they're not going to pay attention anyway. At that point, they've already moved on, right? So just let it go.
yeah, they've already checked the box and moved on, right?
Hey, oh, good. So people are starting to chime in, log on here.
So Ladwina, you'll just ask me a bunch of easy questions, right?
I'm going to ask you a whole bunch of, I'm asking you the easy questions. Your audience, however, may be asking you some curveballs, so just be ready.
I
They
told
did
you
not tell me to come with easy questions, Dennis.
What's that?
They did not tell me to come with easy questions.
I have all the easy questions. These other ones may have something for you.
Show up early and ask hard questions. That was my instruction.
I already told Ladwina not to invite Ashley Carter, but apparently she missed that memo because I can.
Slipped in.
He's here. He's just in the car. He's not able to do video, but he's listening.
There he is. Hi,
There
Smack.
he is. What's up, bud?
Thank you. Thank you for your support.
Yes.
Of course. If I don't run into the wall, I'll be in good shape. So don't say anything really weird, Dennis.
Cool.
Lunch with Mr. Ryan Casper today.
Nice.
Hopefully he felt the same way.
Where'd you go for lunch?
The Perch on Division. It was, what do we say? The Boundary, but it was really good. Ryan, that was Ryan's recommendation. I thought it was really good.
The food is above average for division.
Yes, I agree. I
Cool.
agree.
I'm going to give it just one more minute.
Cool.
Just one.
As Ryan can attest from being at lunch with me, this is a nice break from getting yelled at by my clients.
Are you getting yelled at a lot?
Today it was. So I know I turned my phone off. First time I've breathed today, I think.
Wow.
Hi, Eric Marcus.
Hi, Dennis.
How are you, buddy?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
Excited to see you. Learn from the best.
And when they're not available, you can learn something from me. How's that?
That's true. That's true.
How the girls gymnastics?
One's a dancer now. She dropped out.
Went dance? Okay,
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, me too. It's a lot closer. It's only 4 days a week instead of 5. So
Yeah,
That's dangerous.
we're making it work. Yeah.
still a lot.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
let's get started because I want to be respectful of everyone's time here. And so Dennis, thank you again for joining us. I know the last time we attempted to do this, there are some technical difficulties, and which seems to be the theme for the last 18 months, right? However, we rebounded very nicely here, and so thank you so much for being on. And this is of course informative. However, we want to be kind of informal, right? Casual. It's just us good colleagues and friends sharing best practices. And even though we are getting some information from Dennis in true mastermind form, we are, we're going to ask for everyone else to participate as well, right? So sharing your best practices, feeling free to add on, and of course, asking questions, right? So that we all can grow and learn from each other. So with that being said, Dennis, why don't you give us an introduction of yourself? Tell us, how long have you been in real estate? How many units do you sell? Your year-to-date numbers, all that good stuff.
Okay. So this is my 20th year in the business. Prior to this, I'm just about to hit my second anniversary at KW1 with you guys.
Yay.
Yes, prior to that, I spent 11 years at App Properties. I am in the midst of my best year ever. And, hopefully a lot of us are. The market's been pretty kind. I am at 74 units, either under contract or sold. And I'm just flirting. I got about 4 deals that are tinkering between going south because I think things are getting really kind of strange. We definitely should talk about that a little bit, but I'm right at that between under contract and sold at 50 million in revenue.
Okay. It's at 50 million, taking some notes.
Got it.
And what would you say the mix is with that, like buyers and sellers?
So what's been really nice and where those numbers kind of tend to decline pretty quickly is a big chunk of that group are folks that were buying and selling. Generally speaking, selling in the city, either moving a little bit further away from downtown, a little bit less density to either a single family in the suburbs, or maybe a referral out to their hometowns, or just more space further away from downtown. But a lot of buy and sells there. But generally speaking, I think I'm a little under 70% sell to buy. So it's about 65+% sell, around 35% buy.
Okay. And what about like your team? Like how many members do you have on a team? What are their roles?
Yes. So again, just real quick, I came over 2 years ago because I was absolutely craving the models, the systems, the processes. I am a extremely slow learner, but I am working my way towards a red book. Ryan and I talked a little bit about it at lunch today, but I'm really trying to follow the red book. And I have my operations manager / executive assistant, a new one that I have just hired. It's going to be starting on October 18th. I mentioned to Ryan, it's probably a great testament to my character. I had 10 brokers on my team when I was at App Properties. And when I came over, 9 of them stayed and 1 came over with me, who's now my buyer's agent. So I was able to save 1 on the team, but I have operations manager, I have a buyer's agent, and I do have a showing agent. Several meetings and conversations with Kevin Henn with Hidden Fair about how important that is and how much leverage that provides getting time back. So I've gone from doing showings and appraisals and inspections and walkthroughs to leveraging that out right now.
So just want to make sure that I got this right. So 11 plus years at Properties.
Correct.
Last 2 years with Keller Williams, One Chicago.
Yes, ma'am.
having your best year in real estate to date,
Correct.
with 75 units closed, about 50 million in volume.
Between contract and close, I'm kind of including under contract.
Yeah.
not closed. Correct.
Yep. And you, a buyer's agent, an operations manager slash assistant, and a showing agent.
That's correct.
So you went from almost 50%, right? Because you had you said 9 people before, plus you, so 10 total on the team, to just 4 of you on the team,
Correct.
having your best year in real estate yet.
Right. And I went from the old broker model and some of the ex-addies. Hi, Steve. The old brokerage model where we acted more like a mentor and then paid a percentage or a delta between a newer broker split and our split, to kind of blowing that up and just really trying to follow the MREA and the Red Book in building out my team. So it's kind of
Wow.
a step back from, but a new system.
Yep. Sounds to me like you are, I don't know if it's through osmosis or how it's going. You're saying you're a slow learner. It's sounding like you're doing some of those systems and models. To me, having your best year with half the staff, and I failed to mention, you said you got some time back as well. You're not working with your buyers anymore.
That's correct. That's correct. I definitely got time back. I have invested in a MAPS coach. So I've been with a coach for about a year as well.
Gotcha. MAPS coach. So tell me, within your team, what's the mindset of the team now, right? You're half the team that you were before, small and mighty, right? What is the mindset? How do you and your team approach business?
That's great question. And that's where, like, I feel like we are in our infancy stages, even though this is year 2 of having that mindset of accountability around lead generation. And there may be situations where COVID and not coming into the office was convenient for folks to kind of sit around and wait things out, see where things were going to come. But we are just now like 1 month into, mandatory lead gen. We're at 3 days a week, 2 hours for 3 days a week. But the mindset is all about lead gen and tracking. To steal my coach's word, he calls it a net +1, but additions to the pipeline. That's how you win the day. And what's amazing, we went from where my team wasn't really doing any lead generation, and I was not doing a great job of tracking lead generation, to, all 3 of us are usually coming up with an addition to our sales pipeline almost every day.
Wow.
That's powerful mindset to say, we're committing to sitting down and doing lead gen. And oh my God, I talked to somebody and they just told me that they're going to move in the spring, or they told me they're, a year away from a buy and a sale, but we now have trackable business that we can, and just know where the business is coming from.
How did you approach that with the team? Talk to us a little bit more about that. How did you go from you're at home, comfy, in your pajamas, right? Being Zoom dressed, and we've all done it, right? During the pandemic, you look really sharp at the top, and you got on your flip flops and jogging pants, at the bottom, right? And not doing, what we consider some form of traditional lead generation, to now we're lead generating. What did you say? 3 days a week, 2 hours a day? Yep. What did that look like for the team? How did you get the buy-in for that?
I think it was just, with the market being strong and business being good, I hit it home that it is my job to be a leader for my team's success. So it's kind of like the party's over. We're all going to do this, and I'm going to hold you guys accountable to yourselves, and we're going to see where it goes. And kind of got them excited. You know, they're beating me into the office for lead gen, and, you know, we're spending a lot of time together. And, you know, they talk about showing up as half the battle. It's the difference. I know lead generation wasn't happening before we were holding ourselves accountable to being in the office and doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. So, talk to me about your vision for your team.
Yeah. Well, my vision, and again, I feel like it took me a really long time, but I feel really excited about the foundation of the business and the structure of the business, that it is now scalable. And it's not that I'm looking to take over the world, but now that I've gotten time back and I have systems in place, what I didn't talk about is I am using Halo Group. I know a lot of you guys know them for contract management and listing management. So if anybody is on the fence about that, reach out to me. I'll explain to you, but that's been a lifesaver for me. But I have systems in place to manage the business, and it feels very scalable. So now I feel like I'm going to have the ability to invest in growing the business and investing in lead gen. Maybe it's, you know, inside sales or just other opportunities to grow, bring in new brokers, kind of to look at like Hinton and Fair. You know, they built a foundation, and it's foolproof, and now they can grow as much as they like.
Yeah.
That help?
Yeah. So, the Halo Group, so could you mention that? So an external, you know, addition to the team. So are they doing all of your transaction management? You do everything, buy, sell? What does that look like?
They're doing everything, and it was a little bit new for them to do actually even the listing management.
Mhm.
They're doing all the listing management up front, you know, pulling HOA docs, getting listing documents signed, ordering signs for me, putting listings in Top Agent Network, the PLN, and then, you know, what they've been doing for a while, and they do a magnificent job of, is contract to close. So they're doing all of that for me, and they're even helping me with rentals too.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay. Before I go, I wanted to switch gears a little bit. Before I switch gears, everyone on the call right now, do you have any questions for Dennis surrounding what we've talked about so far? Yes, Stephen?
So Dennis, given you
Yes.
both came from that brokerage, how hard was it to change your mindset from that mentor role to a leader role on your team?
That's a,
I think a lot of the brokerages don't really do a great job of establishing that mindset for the individual that's leading the team. Like, I think in the past, you and I have had these conversations where it's like, just load your team up with individuals and see where it goes. There isn't really like an intention around it. How hard was it to shift your mindset in that aspect?
That's a great question. That question, first of all, about saying I knew something was wrong in the old system, right? I'm supposed to be the leader of the team. And there's a conflict of the path to success may mean less to my bottom line as, you know, members on the team grow and they're renegotiating their splits and how their business worked. So I knew something was wrong with it. But it definitely took me a long time to get the mindset in place to build that team and to be able to understand that I could leverage the team to pass off business. And in turn, that would be more to my bottom line and more to growth opportunity, not just for me, but for the person who's working for me or the people who are working for me. Does that answer your question? That took a while. So I I knew the old setup as a mentor and me making a lot of money off of as many people that wanted to put hike name on their business card was broken and not good. But it took me a while to embrace the right way of doing things here. And I was very slow to give up buyers, and I was very slow to give up listings, and I was very slow to give up, oh, I'm the one that needs to be at that final walkthrough because my clients think I should be there. And it's such a misnomer. And I know a lot of people feel that way, maybe as they're thinking about the transition, but it couldn't be further from the truth because my service has improved by 100-fold. The more I give up, the better my service becomes. That makes sense. I mean, testament to finding talent and attracting talent and then getting out of their way.
So staying along on that line, what did that look like? You're saying it was hard, right? It took a long time, right? You were slow to adapt it. Like, what did that look like? What prompted that change? What made you say, you know what? I'm not going to this final walkthrough. I'm just not going to do it.
Yep. I mean, I think it was just, being part of the KW culture, being around successful teams that are doing it and growing right in front of our eyes, being coached both by brokers and team leaders within this office and, my MAPS coach, and then just having a little bit of a leap of faith.
Mm-hmm.
And once I the right way the first time, it was very easy to just continue doing it. But it definitely took a long time where I went from, I'm setting up the MLS search for buyers and then, trying to tell my buyer's agent where to go and what addresses and, wasting time to, once I empowered her to do her job, everything got better and we did a lot more business because of it.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Paul, you had a question?
I did. So I just wanted to see if there was a way to break down lead generation. So who are you talking to? Mets, unmets, web leads, and what are you saying? What are you doing? Are you calling? Blah, blah, blah.
I call. The younger folks on my team do a lot less calling and a lot more texting. So, we could always have that debate. They don't think their buddies want to be called and, they think I'm nuts and I stand behind, the power of calls. But my business is 100% referral based. So it's all of my sphere. It's my network. Again, working with Josie for a while, he says you have to perfect the main piece of your business before you can move on to anything else. And I know a lot of folks run their business in different ways. Again, having lunch with Ryan Casper today, I really look up to folks that are able to put systems in place and do lead gen with expireds and for sale by owners. And, I feel like in my future to put systems in place to tackle new revenue streams is right around the corner. But for now, it's all sphere-based, network-based. The conversations now are around events. We basically run our 40 touch around, I think we just did our marketing calendar. I think we have 10 events locked in by date for next year.
Wow.
And there's usually about 4 touches for each event. So by the time you have the event, thank everybody for coming. Sorry we missed you for the ones that didn't. That next week, they're getting an invite for the next one. And that carries out through the whole year. It makes it for my team that aren't as comfortable making phone calls a lot easier to call about, a Chicago Fire tailgate and outing than, wondering how I'm going to say, do you know anybody looking to buy or sell real estate? But it's events-based is how we do it.
And 10 events per year. What are those? What does that look like?
You got it. So we'll probably do, maybe even a few more will scatter in there. And
Wow.
you will see the theme of my events are social and around alcohol consumption mostly. So you do whatever you're good at, and it's kind of my skill. So we start off in January. I've done it for years as we rent out a bar. We do AFC, NFC championship Sunday. There's 2 football games. It's a day that a lot of people like to watch football and get out. And usually people have their family Super Bowl events. So we do that. We are doing a St. Patrick's Day party, hopefully this year. We weren't able to do that last year. We're going to do an NCAA tournament event, probably the first Thursday or Friday where games go from 11 to 9. We're going to do a Cinco de Mayo. Tom Campone did one. We both kind of share some of our event planning, and we ended up bailing on ours. And Campone, who's on the call, I think he had 70, 80 people show up, where he had a taco truck at a park and, you know, got help with sponsors with the costs. That's the reminder, is we give a lot of business to folks, and it all starts with us. So there are partners, you know, it went from being a chore to ask people to help for a couple bucks to do events to getting them to fight over who gets to do them. So remember that in your business planning, to leverage your partners that you're giving a lot of business to. They want to be a part of it. So Cinco de Mayo, we did a dog day afternoon where people brought dogs to the dog park in June. We did fire outing recently. We're doing family photo shoots. Meg today did one where she had about 80 people show up. You get photographers show up at a park, pretty easy going, and everyone gets family photos done. Then holiday party in December.
Awesome. Wow, and you're going to add a couple more. It sounded like you just said maybe sprinkle a couple more in there.
We
So
may do,
it's been a month.
we may do quarterly happy hour events too.
Awesome. So tell me, do you how many people approximately are in your database?
I have 1,100.
Mhm.
Now, the way Command works, I'd say a few hundred of those are children, kids of my clients. But what's important about that is, you know, a big part of my communication with my my network is birthday cards and sending out little birthday gifts, and probably more powerful than even sending it to the buyer or the seller, whoever paid the bill, is if you send something to their kids.
Write that down, everybody.
Write that down.
Write that down. If they don't have kids, they probably have fur babies.
Yep. And
Fur
they're
babies like gifts too.
Yep.
So
Anybody?
about 1,100 in the database.
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm. And you're touching them. You said, I heard you say 40, the 40 touch.
We call it the 40 touch, but with this kind of event planning and touches around the event planning, it's probably quite a few times more. But I'm set up in Command. I got help with Allie Gregory, Radar Designs. She got me set up with my entire sphere on a quarterly call plan. So when I show up in the office and it's alphabetical, you can see how she has it set up for me. But as long as I'm following Command, everyone's getting at least one call a quarter.
Awesome. For your events, roughly, and I know it's going to be a little bit different per, on average, how many people would you say show up at each event?
Correct. It's case by case.
Mm-hmm.
And I stress to my team, regardless of how many people come, we've had some good ones and some maybe felt like not so good ones, but the act of the invite, the act of the follow-up, the act of the thanks for coming or sorry we miss you, is sometimes it's a good thing. It's a little less expensive when they don't all show up, but
Yep.
our doggy day afternoon, it was like 95 degrees on a Friday at like 5 o'clock. And we think between it being so hot and having to sit in traffic on Friday, that was our mistake. We probably only had about 15, less than 20 people show up to that event.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had about 45 people just show up a couple weeks back to our Chicago fire outing. So it definitely ranges. But you just learn from it and figure out how we get more people there.
That's why I asked that question, because you're absolutely correct, right? It's more about the touch, right? The contact and the touch itself, not necessarily, them showing up for the event. It's no different than, whoever's on the call that do open houses, right? We want to do open houses to the highest level possible, right? You're doing your open house to the 7th level, even if the people don't show up to the open house, you've made that contact, right? You've touched them, you've started the, building of that relationship, and that's what it's about.
Correct.
Joe Green?
My question for you is, were you still doing these events? And I think events are great, by the way, during COVID. And I mean, it seems like you have a successful business despite COVID. So,
So we had our kind of marketing calendar in place a year ago, and we kind of, we had to pretty much disband pretty much all of the events. I think we had 2 outdoor park events. This year we've kind of just been doing them.
Mhm.
If that makes sense. So, yeah, it didn't feel good when COVID hit. It was like our whole plan for the year, we couldn't really do, right? So I was banging the phones and, probably sending out a lot more personal notes and birthday cards than I was able to keep up with before. But this year we've been doing it.
Awesome.
Hey, Dennis, it's Ash. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
I
Yep.
can
Do
hear
you just have one list, and does everyone get invited every time, or do you have any kind of segmenting of the list?
That's a good point. So I kind of hold my breath. You always think like, good Lord, did I just invite 1,100 people to a Chicago Fire soccer game?
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
But the reality is, the attendance on all of these things, people are busy. So I always say to myself, if everybody shows up, it's going to be one hell of a good problem, and it's going to be a mess. So for the most part, rather than overthink it or miss somebody, we tend to like send one e-blast out to everybody. And so we have Family Photo Day coming up as our next event. So we'll send one e-blast out to everybody. And then what I did literally the last couple of days as an action item is I had my CRM, I think you can look at them like every 500 contacts. And I went through, because my technology skills are pretty weak, and I literally hand wrote last names of everybody I know that has kids. And then I followed up with just them rather than like the follow-ups going to everybody. So I think the answer is don't be afraid to send it out to everybody. And it may be a call to a lender, an attorney, or a CPA, or somebody else you can support their business and say, guys, we got an interesting thing happening. I got to buy $15,000 worth of Chicago Fire tickets. I sure hope you guys are on board to help support me. But like, I get the pause, but I'm like, I think you invite everybody, and then in the follow up, because it takes time, you're more focused. Does that answer the question, Ash?
It does. And the other advantage you didn't mention is you can drive yourself crazy with multiple lists, and it's hard to manage multiple lists. And you're absolutely right. I mean, you can always say space is limited. You need to RSVP, all of those things. So no, I assumed that's what you were doing, was everyone was getting the same invite.
Yeah.
But just reaffirming there's value in the simplicity of you're not overthinking too many lists. So that's brilliant.
You got it. It's that touch. It's that touch. I mean, I invited, technically 1,100 people to a fire game that 40 showed or whatever, so.
Awesome. Anyone else have any other questions?
Dennis, one question I missed today at lunch was, walk me through an average day on your schedule.
All right. It starts with me getting up in the morning, my wife screaming at me to get the kids out of bed, Fast forward again, I drop my kids off at school every morning myself. And, I come in the office and I do a lot of housekeeping stuff, right? So I tell you what, like for 20 years in the business, we talk about how important time blocking is. And I really was never good at it until I got here. But, I get in the office at 8. That gives me kind of an hour to kind of horse around a little bit. And then 9 to 11 for me is really lead gen 5 days a week. Again, kind of the KW model. Again, I always go back to a lot of conversations with Josie before I came over. If you accomplish that lead gen from 9 to 11 in the morning, technically your workday is done, right? From there, go take someone out to lunch. You're always lead generating, but you can have a lunch, maybe there's some showings, maybe there's other, fires you're putting on or what have you. But to me, my ultimate goal in my workday is I know what's happening up until 11 a.m. And then from there, a million weird things happen. But if I won the day that 9 to 11 and I added someone to the pipeline or 2 people to the pipeline that day, then it's almost like that pressure is off, because it's a weird business sometimes. And we can caught up where you may think you're working hard because you're responding to emails for 11 hours, but we didn't get anything done. So, that time blocking of 2 hours of lead gen or business generating activities, whatever you think is best. John Astorina and I share an office. He comes in and writes 1 million handwritten notes. That's how he makes a living. And if he comes in here and does that for 2 hours, then wherever we go from there, we kind of won the day, After that, everything's kind of bananas.
Is that what you are focusing on as far as the goal for you and your team? How many people that you can add to the database?
Well, to me, especially since my business, which I feel is it's potentially very limiting when it's all referral based and all network based. A goal of adding to the database is something that we track as well. But to win the day is to adding somebody to the pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe somebody says 6 months, but I'm going to say, within a year that someone says, you know what, we'll probably move within a year's time. They go into the pipeline, seller, couple of notes, looking to move within a year's time. Now we have a targeted, someone on the pipeline. So we're tracking, okay, they're a half $500,000 condo, and you start being able to see where your business is going to come from.
Mm-hmm.
But the most important is the addition of the pipeline. But adding to the database is important. We track appointments. It's funny, I stopped tracking that at some point, and then I stopped going to meet people. I started tracking.
Funny how that happens.
Yeah, I mean, and I came over here again doing this for a long time and having a lot of bad habits. And I remember talking to a lot of people saying, I do all the work. I know I do all the work. I don't have time to track it. I don't want to track it. But if you don't track it, you don't really know where you're at. I started tracking appointments again. And the next thing you know, I started getting a lot of appointments. So tracking's important.
So I'm going to switch gears a little bit. Before I do that, any questions about anything that's been said so far? Okay, I'm looking for hands. No hands? You can feel free to take yourselves off mute as well. I don't think we have a mute.
Hey,
restriction.
Dennis, for your events, you just show up, or you, obviously you're not planning the events yourself. Your assistant does it, your admin operations, it does it all?
Scarily enough. And I'll make another shameless plug to Halo, because I see Jordan Pringle is on this call. But I made it through probably starting around April 1st I had no assistant. We just wasn't working for us and we parted ways. So other than transaction management and listing management that was being covered for me, I was doing all this myself.
Wow.
So, and the problem with that is I would book Chicago fire outing and then my wife said, oh, you forgot we're supposed to be going to St. Louis that weekend, you know? So I need the help, and the help's coming back. And that will be one of her primary roles, is to help with event planning and fit it within my calendar. But I do think it's important for me to be at the event.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I just meant like involved in the planning and doing and scheduling and everything else that goes on with an event.
Yeah, I definitely get help from the team. I lean on Maggie a lot, my buyer's agent, and I'm looking at, I got these miniature little soccer balls sitting in my office from the fire stuff. So she's been a great help, but we will definitely turn that over to operations, because that's following the model.
Yay. I love following the model.
I try.
Anyone else have any other questions before I kind of switch gear here a little bit? Okay, so Dennis, you mentioned very, very early in our call, one of the first things you mentioned actually in the call was that you were noticing within your pipeline that there were some strange things happening, right? With some deals, right? That there are some strange deals. You had a few that were attempting to, go south, indicating that there's, something going on out here, and that we should, probably touch on that and kind of talk about that and mastermind about that a little bit. So I want you to expound on that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, it's funny having lunch with Ryan today, and it was like, he's waiting for me, he's driving, and I'm getting hammered on the phone that of course I had to take because, it's so important. We've all had them, right? So, I wonder in these last couple of weeks, and, this business is seasonal too, but I do think it's important to mastermind maybe strategy around, if we're coming to the end of a market season, do we look at our deals? Do we look at our business differently? Do we have to, manage these deals differently than, when, let's all be frank, it's a little bit easier in the spring when people are fighting over our listings and things like that. So I felt something a little more funky over the last couple of weeks, not just slow down because of the season, but with the deals that are in place. If that even warrants a conversation, you guys tell me. Maybe it was just me belly aching Orion today.
Well, what say ye? Ryan? Nico?
I can jump in. I guess that this is Ashley again. What are you seeing, Dennis? Are you seeing a longer market times? Are you seeing people less forceful in making a decision to move ahead? Are you seeing greed not be accommodated by the market? Like, what would you characterize the issues as?
Yeah, I mean, I think seasonally speaking, things are slowing down, which, our job is definitely to communicate to our clients, our sellers, crystal clear. That is not unusual, because I don't know about you guys, but I haven't had a strong fall market in me. Maybe it's been 6 or 7 years. What I'm bringing up is, how about trying to get deals out of attorney review, deals from contract to close, and just being at serious risk and exposure because folks are just not playing well together. I mean, I think I lost 3 deals last week that, better in my old age to celebrate those wins too early, but they felt like they should have been in a pretty good shape, and then all of a sudden they went the other way.
Sometimes I feel like it is this time of year. It's like the people who are buying this time of year, they're the people who didn't want to buy in the spring. They didn't want to be in competitive mode. And those are the people who are like looking for blood too. So sometimes that's just kind of what you deal with this time of year. And I feel like the less time you can spend fretting about it, the more time you can spend on your business. And because I know we've had deals like you could have one deal, it will just dominate your week. And you're like, what the hell did I do with this week? All I did was I sent texts and calls and whatever. And you just gotta be like, you know what? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Let's just move on. And
That's,
Dennis, I do have one quick question. You mentioned earlier on the call that you have a lot of people buying and selling at the same time. So my question is, in those deals, are those people doing that? Are they doing both?
right.
So, and this is just my like observation this past year is if you have a person leaving the city of Chicago, right? Their home sold for more money. They increased by 10% over the last 12 months. But the place they're going increased in value by 25% over the last 12 months.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a little bit of like, if I'm going to get this much over here, I want this much over here, right? So it's like this kind of unreasonable expectation. You're coming out of a okay market and going into like a crazy market. There's a bit of an attitude I've seen this year when people are doing that. You know, they expect to get this over here when they got it over here, and it just unfortunately doesn't work a lot of times. Just my observation.
I think that's a great point.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah.
that's a great point.
That is. Thanks for sharing, Ryan.
This is a scary time of year. I do have a couple of folks that, you know, I mean, our job is to consult them and educate them, but you know, they knew they were gone. We're leaving the city. We'll go pay that. And if it's 25%, God bless, maybe it's 60% over, or, you know, but their assumption as the time starts to tick on them and come to the end of the market, they're still out there overpaying for that house in the suburb. Then all of a sudden we're helping them and they're holding the bag on maybe a slower market in the city. That's an awful feeling as their partner. But I'm seeing a little bit of that, and that's kind of frightening.
Mm.
I don't know. I'm trained in just knowing the numbers behind it, right? If you can quantify things for people and help them get clear with how markets have changed over the last 12 months or during their transition, it helps get a little bit clear, and the dialogue is a little easier for them to understand, as opposed to, hey, that's the way things are, you know, like too bad. So just, again, putting numbers to what's happening is helpful.
That's a good reminder for me, which is not my strength, but data driven. You got to provide the facts.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yeah, I would second that, Dennis. And if it's, I don't know if there's a conversation you're having as you go under contract and a little bit of a pep talk and a reminder about what we're doing next. You know, like what's the spirit of the home inspection paragraph? Like, what does it actually say? And what does it mean we're supposed to be doing? I don't know if you're losing things on inspection or if it's other items, but perhaps there's an opportunity in there to have a, hey, let's have a quick 5-minute phone call, you know, now that we've gotten the contract. And let me step you through the next like 3 major things that are about to happen. Right? And reset the deck, because if you call them up proactively when the bullets aren't flying yet, and you say, hey, this is a phase you haven't been in before, depending on, or you haven't sold a house in 7 years. And, you know, here's a quick heads up as to what we're about to do, and just kind of reset the expectations. And also underlying all of that somewhere, right, is the motivation. If they're willing to go spend 25% higher to be in the new house, and they can only get 8% more for the one they're selling, you know, it's back to motivation, right? How important is it to be in that new house you just bought? You know, why did you make that move? You didn't make the move to win the war of the attorney review. You made the move because there's a bigger life thing going on, and you want to remind them of that.
Yeah.
Right? Make them put it in their own words. Why did you just move, man? What's the whole point here? Like, why are you doing that? You know, you didn't do it because Dennis needed to help someone. I always try to disconnect myself from them in the sense of I'm there to help them in every way possible. But if they change their mind or go sideways, I take the approach that doesn't affect me. It does psychologically, but you know what I'm saying? It's that idea that, hey, it's your house, it's your money. You get to make the decisions. I'm here to guide you. And, you know, they're going to come around. When you make them think about their motivation, that will usually cut through, or you find out they're really not that motivated and they got really far into a process they were sort of half-heartedly into.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's, if, what I like what you're saying, Ashley, what I just wrote down is like having your process, that discussion should be figure out where in the process of the sale that you're having it, but that should be like in written process form of these are the next steps. These are the potential things that could happen during this time. And also like keep asking that motivation. So you.
One of the phrases I use in both email and in text messages, if we've just gone under contract, I will end my email or even my text message with, congratulations on getting to this stage of the process. I don't let them slam the ball in the end zone when we get a contract. You know what I mean? It's way too early. I keep it in stages. Congratulations on getting to this step in the process. I use that a lot, and I put it in texts and emails if I'm not talking to them to remind them that we didn't win the war yet, right? Like we won one small little battle here, and this is good, but we don't know what's about to happen next.
Good. Shameless plug for Halo again. They have those discussions and they have those processes in place, and they're explaining to both my buyers and sellers that are under contract where they're at. Maybe I need to get more engaged with that too.
Yeah, and I think Ashley kind of hit the nail on the head here, talking about number one, motivation, making sure that we know, that is what I wrote down. We are so quick to jump into things, especially when things are moving fast and the market is moving fast. And do 100% what is their motivation? Why are they doing this? Knowing the motivation, so ahead of time, so you can go back there, and then setting them up, right? So what's going to happen next? We know the market that we're dealing in. We deal with it every day. We know what this is like and what could potentially go wrong, or what our clients are about to undergo, right? Making sure that they know what's going to happen next, right? Keller Williams had a course, an old school course that they taught about this, and the phrase was bulletproofing the transaction, right? Making sure that you're ahead of your client every step of the way, that they know, you tell them, right? So the conversation that's taking place, when you are hearing from your client, instead of saying, oh my God, we're in an attorney review and whatever, they're coming to you and they're like, man, Dennis, you told me that this is going to happen. Like you said that this is a possibility. You prepared me for this ahead of time. And so it's not a shock and it's not a struggle. So yay. Thank you for that, Ashley. Thank you for sharing for that. So in our last few minutes here, Dennis, I want you to talk about advice. What advice? We got a nice, variety of agents on the call. What advice would you give to agents, and what are you doing well? What's working at a very high level for you? What your wins are, and what you think that you could, what have you learned the most this year so far?
I really think it's consistency with lead generation. It sounds very topical, right? So if you're new, I think I put my sister, I've been doing this 20 years. I put my sister in Dallas in command as a contact like 2 months ago. Anybody like everyone has different terminology. We met them in the grocery store and they said hi and they knew you by name. Like they go into your database, they go into your form of communication. And then, it's not a sales call. You're not trying to talk somebody into buying or selling a place, but it's just getting yourself out in front of everybody as much as you can. And showing up right? You get in front of as many people as you can and you show up, and that database and that network grows. You will begin to get referrals from people you didn't even know were in the database. So, just putting systems in place. You show up and you spend 2 hours a day in the office. I can't work out of the house. If you have 2 hours of set time, and just like, I'm only going to do lead gen. I'm not going to get online. I'm not going to, check my texts. I'm not going to do my email. I'm not going to worry about that one fire that just showed up on a deal. It's like 2 hours. Anybody that needs a call is going to get a call at 11:05 or 11:10. But you do that 4 days a week. That's 8 hours a week of work. Like, it's a snowball effect, and you are going to get business from people that you had no idea had business opportunities within them.
Awesome. Yay. Thank you.
Like, we don't show up. We all we do busy work, respond to emails. We spend, like Eric said, we lose weeks at a time on deals. Show up, but block out 2 hours, block out an hour if you're just starting and you feel like you don't have that many people to communicate to. But you just do that, then you can move on and, whatever. Business will come. Business will come.
I think that's the key, right? Consistency, time blocking, right? Consistency and protecting that time. That's what you're talking about. Protecting your lead generation, protecting that block of time, so that you can actually, do your money, generating activity. So just protecting that time. And before it was kind of I guess old school, right? Was like, okay, you have your 2 hours in the morning every morning and you're doing it. And now I think because of technology, and we have, right, the millennials and Generation Z, and there's all different forms of communication. And I talked to an agent a few months ago that gets 100% of their business from Facebook. Like, what? How? However, still lead generating, and it's consistent, right? It does. I personally don't care if you're, lead generating Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 9 to 11, or, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 2 to 5, or whatever it is. As long as you have that schedule and you're consistent and you're blocking that time and you're protecting it, that's what matters. And like you said, it's going to be a snowball, effect. 8 hours a week, right, of work, quote unquote, 8 hours a week of work, leading to the best year that you've had in real estate. 74 units sold, $5 million, $50 million in volume, more time with your family, and helping your team create their life by design as well. Sounds pretty cool to me.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's leverage is key, but that 2 hours, get 2 hours a day in whenever that time works best for you, and you'll win.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Dennis. Thank you everyone for joining us. I put some, or Cindy and Paul put some links in the chat to register. Bold, you see our Joe Green pointing. If you have not registered for First Step to Bold, you can do so now. The link is in the chat. Also, we have our director of equity and inclusion coming to our region on October 13th. You can register for that event as well. And thank you. I appreciate you all.
Thanks, Ladrina.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.